Hi Martin, lovely to meet up with you yesterday up at the range and start to do some work on your swing. Just a quick recap on the points, or the main points that we covered during your session. First of all, set up when viewed from face on, what we'd like to see is a little bit more foot flare. That's going to help stabilise the upper centre, allowing you to turn the hips a little bit more freely and long term help prevent injury. So we'd like to see both feet turned out approximately 15 to 20 degrees. What we'd also like to see is a little bit more weight placed on the left side at setup by stacking the centres left as opposed to just sliding the hips to the left like we see here from face on. You can see here there's quite a kink back in your torso at setup, which is causing the eyes to tilt a little bit too much to the right and causing the upper centre to drift back. Whereas later on in your session, what we see here are centres much more stacked on top of one another, maybe a sort of 5 degree, maybe not even that difference between the two, and the eye line much more level and looking down on the top of the golf ball. So stacking the centres over the top of one another a little bit more and getting the weight on the left by flexing that left knee a little bit more as opposed to sliding the hips, which is giving you that spine tilt that we don't particularly want when we're setting up with an iron. So that's from a setup point of view. Once you did that, the key elements then during your swing were to learn to take the club back from P1 to P2. So set up P1, P2 when the shaft's parallel to the ground in the takeaway. You can see that the wrists sort of work under, the club face is very hooded, going back quite a bit on the inside, taking a substantial amount of loft off the club face at that point, and also losing quite a bit of height. You can see there the base of your neck dropping down from the red line to the yellow line. So flexing forward, a little bit too much left tilt, causing you to lose quite a significant amount of height on the way back. So we're losing a lot of height, and we're also de-lofting the golf club during the backswing. So what we tried to get you working on initially was just to maintain your height a little bit more. Understand that you've got to turn, left tilt and extend incrementally. So doing it at a gradual rate. And you can see as you're starting to do this, allied to the fact that we're trying to take the club back in a little bit more neutral manner, we start to have a little bit more loft on the club face at P2. And our ability to maintain the inclination to the ground at the top of the backswing had substantially improved. So you can see there not as much left tilt. So for your head to drop now, you would be tilting down to the golf ball. You'd be tilting this way, line at the way, tilting to the left. Left tilt at the top of your backswing is down towards the golf ball. So you've maintained your angles or your inclination to the ground much better during that golf swing than you have on this swing here. When viewed from face on, that has a knock-on effect during the downswing. You can see the head moving down and then staying down and moving forward dramatically. That's going to get the club driving low into the ground. Whereas here, we maintain the height better. The upper axis stays centred, stays stable. And the lower axis moves forward, which is going to give you a shallower angle of attack and a greater angle of ascent in the through swing, getting the club to come out of the ground. You can see a marked difference there between the two positions as you approach the release point. Very much down and ahead of it here, much more stable with the upper axis. Lower body still moving forward nicely, that's not a problem. And also what you're starting to see here is that this right arm as a result is not expanding quite as quickly as we see in this footage here. The right arm expands too quickly. This wasn't really something we covered yesterday, but I just thought I'd point it out when we look at that comparison. The quicker the right arm expands, the harder it is for you to control the radius of your golf swing. So you've gone down, you've gone forward, and the radius expanding, causing you difficulty in controlling the flight of the golf ball and the position of your low point. I'm just going to run this through face on another few frames. If you look at the difference in that position compared to that position, you can see there that the elbows are clearly divided on the left hand footage, whereas on the right hand footage the arms has extended as the lower body has moved forward better. So you've got to learn to left tilt less and extend more in the through swing. We can see here that we're maintaining our forward flex into the follow through, whereas here we've extended nicely into the follow through. Much better movement when viewed from the face on. I'm just going to get rid of all those lines for you now. Big improvement. And we're looking at it from down the line here. We're going to flex further forward as we start down. Quite a lot of loft being taken off the golf club again at that point. Left wrist very bold because of the weight being taken back. Here, less of a flex forward. So we're still flexing forward. We return to flexion. Back into our address flex there. No problem whatsoever. And if we look at the difference in the loft on the club face at that point, much less toe down. Dispatching the ball much higher and on a really good line into a nice finish, as opposed to driving this club more into the ground. And that wrap-around finish where the body's gone back into flexion and the arms have collapsed. You can see here also there's a difference in the position of the right foot. Usually when the right foot's banking in as it's working up, that's a sign that you're extending more, so the hips have moved forward further to longer during the downswing, which is great. Key things to work on, obviously matching the shafts up during the takeaway, which is one of the routines that we gave you. Stabilising the upper centre by making a lot of swings with your head up against the wall, and also learning to extend properly by making little back swings with no wrist hinge and then trying to hit the ball as far as you can purely with the extension of the body and the hips in the through swing. Good luck with it. I'll post you some email stuff across, some still footage and comparisons just for you to go over and digest over the Christmas period. I look forward to working with you again in the new year, and I can't wait to see what sort of progress you make between now and when we do get together next. Good luck, all the best, have a great Christmas. Well done.